Welcome to the fourth episode of Graha's VR podcast series. Thanks for your support. Our podcast is being listened in over 16 countries.
Hi, this is Srinivasan, the founder of SquareComp Graha's VR.
Hi, this is Sriram, the co-founder of SquareComp Graha's VR.
Graha's VR podcast series covers various topics around virtual reality and other relative technological aspects. This episode is about the basics and future of Metaverse.
Hi Srini, you listened to Tracy explain about VR in the hospitality industry in the last episode. That was so insightful and thoughtful. Over the past few weeks, Metaverse is one of the most discussed topic in the tech industry. Why don't we discuss it more and dig deep into it?
Thanks, Sriram. Yes, it was an insightful conversation with Tracy. Indeed, Metaverse has been one of the most talked about topics ever since Facebook made its ambitions public. But the seeds for it were sown way back in the early 90s through a science fiction novel.
Quite interesting. So, do you mean to say that the future of the tech industry and all the billions of dollars being invested are from the idea of a science fiction novel, is it?
Well, it's not entirely based on the novel, but the idea and premise of a metaverse was started way back in 1992 in the novel titled Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. But we have come a long way from them. The rudimentary elements and the foundation for a full-blown metaverse have been in development for quite some time now. If you take the stepping stones for all of these technological building blocks, we have all been coming across and using a lot of these digital devices. So we've all been made use of all the latest gadgets and gizmos. So I don't think there will be a greater challenge in terms of the device acceptance or the kind of comparison of a technology to a novel would be so fair. But the basic idea and the thought process for a metaverse was started in 1992 from the novel Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson.
So, what exactly is metaverse? What does it mean to everyday user?
Metaverse, in all its essence, is a virtual universe. The literal definition of metaverse is a universe beyond. It's a virtual world we live in. All our day-to-day activities like work, play, and fun, everything gets done virtually within the simulated world. We have seen a lot of science fiction movies and a lot of cartoons that are some way or the other based on these kind of idea. That virtual being and the virtual way of living is called metaverse.
To comprehend, can the virtual work from home routine and virtual gatherings we have all been practicing since the COVID been called a form of metaverse?
Well, that's not exactly a metaverse. That's more of doing things virtually and digitally. If that's the case, all our digital presence and social being and the digital living should be considered a version of metaverse, but it's not so. Agreed, these are all the foundational building blocks for metaverse. For instance, many users have a different identity and persona in the digital world due to various reasons involved. In a sense, we could argue that their digital persona is part of the virtual universe. Whereas in a metaverse, it's actually not just interacting and communicating virtually. It's about doing things virtually, feeling yourself and experiencing them, being in whatever the form of virtual content that you see yourself or the ones that you experience there, and you get to be a part of that particular virtual on the digital screen presence that you have there. It's actually the next level of digital being, and it's the evolutionary form of all the other aspects of digital models that we have all been used to so far.
This gives us an overview of Metaverse. From what you said, it looks like people are going to be more addicted to all the virtual beings rather than the physical world. With such an advancement, won't the fabric of reality be affected? We already see people addicted to their smartphones and even some countries having separate smartphone lanes. What kind of social impact will this have in the physical world?
If the future of metaverse is going to be built just on the uber cool fun elements and aimed at making it so addictive just to fill the coffers of corporations, then it definitely may not be a good sign. And I'm for sure not in supportive of that kind of traction. I'm not being opinionated or judgmental here. The kind of societal impact technology has created is already alarming in many cases. We've seen a lot of ill effects because of technology in the past few years, but the future world or the Web 3.0 creators must bear this in mind before it's too late and act accordingly. I'm not saying it's impossible to create a metaverse without a negative social impact, but we have to be cautious in doing so and creating one.
How do you think we go about building something like that? The very basic tenacity of an interactive technology is to keep as engaging as possible. We are talking about living virtually. In such a case, I'm bemused as to how we can strike a balance between these two.
First and foremost, we need to be cognizant of all the negative impacts our products and services can and will create even while developing. If we work bearing that in mind, then that will be the start of creating a balance between the virtual and physical world. I might sound a bit cliched here, but that's where it all starts. To address it in a more logical way, sometimes if you look at the reason behind having things more engaging beyond a point, all those meaningless scrolling that people talk about, it all boils down to revenue. Why do you think somebody would require the users to spend more time on their platform rather than doing something else? It is because they could make more revenue at the end of the day. So, most of the times, the basic factor behind this is to have you spend more time on the platform, which ends up bringing more revenue per user. The average revenue per user that has to be as high as possible for any technological company that is operating in this particular domain. When we start developing processes and ways to monetize and generate revenue from the offline activity of users, then the corporations developing and owning these platforms will be incentivized to have a strong offline engagement activity as well. I could go on to elaborate on the ways in which you could do these, but that might also be used up against this particular factor. So maybe we could discuss with those who are interested individually as well. We would be open to do that too. But trust me, you can definitely create a balanced metaverse which has as much of an engaging content in the virtual world as well as a strong connect towards the physical world.
Check out Grah's VR Storyboard Series in YouTube. Our channel link is in the episode notes. In the next episode of our Storyboard Series, we take you through a visual journey of Metaverse. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned. Grah's VR is a brand, owned and operated by Square Comp Solutions.
Creating a revenue model for the offline activity connected with Metaverse seems to be a win-win situation for both the technology and society. Hope creators take account on this. Thinking further on this, how soon do you think all of this will become a reality?
In all honesty, it looks like it will become mainstream sooner than expected. The kind of pace at which the technology is progressing and the amount of newer companies announcing and adopting metaverse-based projects have been growing by the day. Initially, when the concept was floated around, I personally felt this could meet its mettle in another 3 or 4 years down the line, but we might look at some kind of early user adoption and implementation on a larger scale before the end of 2022.
Oh, that soon. It sounds a bit too optimistic and far-fetched to me. Do you think we can have a full version of the virtual world before the end of next year? How do you come to this conclusion?
Prior to Facebook announcing its ambitions on a virtual world, there were just a handful of people and companies talking about these factors. When a company so big makes these gigantic announcements, it's for sure going to raise the eyebrows. Also, it creates an awareness about such a technology to the larger set of audience. We have discussed Metaverse in one of our newsletter months before Facebook mentioned anything about it. We've always said virtual reality and alternate reality technologies are the future of computing landscape. This concept of metaverse takes things farther deep towards creating a connected ecosystem of a virtual world, enabling and implementing Web 3.0, NFT, and the digital twin concept, etc. To add value to the thesis, we have been seeing a growing number of companies implementing and adopting the virtual universe concept.
Yeah, even I came across a few interesting ones. Can you elaborate on some of them?
We've had some of the big names in the industry come out with their own plan for a virtual universe. A couple of interesting ones are the virtual universe from Nike, Vans, and even Disney has announced their plans to foray into their own branded virtual world. That too, somebody like Disney, who has such a mighty wealth of content, it gives them enough potential and a large playing ground to expose themselves with their own content. And taking these further up a notch is a country like Barbados, wherein they are the first country to adopt Metaverse. So the Caribbean nation, Barbados, has closed a deal with a Metaverse platform wherein they will identify and purchase land virtually, and they will build their own embassies and consulates inside a Metaverse, which will be used to facilitate e-visas and other organizational processes. As many of these organizations start visualizing and understanding the potential of this particular concept and technology, then it will fuel competition, and these competing companies will start growing, and it obviously will foster innovation, forcing others to come up with their own ideas on the same. So this actually will pave way to a more faster progress of this technology, which will in turn make the metaverse a reality sooner than expected.
Okay, so we'll make a note of this and let's see, we have a fully functional metaverse before the end of next year and probably get to discuss in our podcast as well. While explaining this, you briefly touch upon topics like Web 3.0 and NFT. How are they connected to metaverse and what is the role they played in this?
Web 3.0 and NFT are both detailed and extensive topics themselves, probably requiring a separate session for each of them. But I'll touch upon them on a high level in context with Metaverse. Let us take a look at Web 1.0. That was the first stage of the internet revolution. It was predominantly a read-only mode wherein you get to consume content and information. The next part, Web 2.0, was the second generation of the internet revolution, which included user-generated content, interoperability, and provided real-time interaction over the internet. We are all from the Web 2.0 generation, and pretty much everything online right now is Web 2.0. Now, take a look at Web 3.0. This is more of a decentralized form of internet, wherein it's powered by the blockchain technology. No one company or an organization will have a majority control over the data and the content as it is right now. Now, let's take a look at NFT. NFT is a short form of non-fungible token, which is also based on the blockchain technology. Simply put, it will be the future form of cash or the primary transactional mode in a virtual world.
That sounds promising for the tech. But I'm trying to understand or maybe make sense of how they are important in terms of virtual universe.
If you look at the Web 3.0, it's a decentralized internet. We will no longer be in the mercy of big tech or the few corporations and constantly dispute over privacy and data adherence policies. There are a lot more technical aspects connected to it, but for the moment, we will focus on the use case and practical implementation for the greater good of all the audiences involved. Imagine the kind of privacy or the data sharing fiasco we might be in if we continue to use the Web 2.0 methods for a virtual universe. We are already handing over terabytes of data to tech corporations. If we continue to dwell on the Web 2.0 in the metaverse, then that will be the end of privacy for the users. Similarly, NFT will be the de facto mode of transaction in the virtual universe. It is more of a decentralized and secure, and at the same time, it upholds transparency. When we are talking about a virtual world, we need a strong transactional aspect to make it sustainable for everyone involved. So without NFT, I'm not able to imagine a virtual universe which is able to transact and make transactions possible.
It seems we are sounding too cynical. I remember reading about the positive impacts Metaverse can have in our newsletter. Can you share a bit more for our listeners here?
Sure. In our newsletter edition 5 on Metaverse, we had broadly outlined the positive impact a virtual world can have. Any new technology or a concept will have their own merits and demerits. It all depends on how much of it outweighs the other. If we just address some of the lingering aspects of Metaverse and create a socially structured technology, then it definitely is a boon. Few of the top level impacts that a fully blown Metaverse could create are urban decentralization. There won't be a separate downtown or a commercial hub required in the virtual world. People will get more time to focus on their personal health and their own well-being. Even there could be a major impact in climate change and global warming down the line as it reduces traffic congestion and in turn reducing the carbon emissions. Education and skilling will get transformed into a more interactive form of content and increased output with respect to the focus of the students and learners. I strongly believe it even has the potential to eliminate all the social and racial divides and transcend geographical boundaries. The world will become one, and humanity will start realizing its true potential, and all the geopolitical barriers will suddenly feel fictional.
Wow, this sounds too good to be true. This raises more questions than answer to me. Maybe we will discuss them further in another episode.
Please check out grahasvr.com to reach out to us. If you like our show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow Grahas VR in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite listening platforms. Follow our social media handles to stay updated on future episodes.